Hello guys, and welcome back to Simple or Difficult. My name is Kelechi, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to model roof fascia and soffit in Revit. Okay, now I've seen quite a few Revit users that make use of the model in place tool to create roof fascia, which isn't particularly wrong, but it has its own downsides. You know, we're heading into the BIM age, and we are trying as much as possible to be able to extract information from our building. Using the model in place tool won't cut it. Okay, so I will be showing you the proper way of modeling roof fascia and roof soffits in Revit so that information can be extracted from it. So without wasting much time, let's get right to it. The first thing I'd like to do is to place our fascia, but before we do that, I'd just like to isolate this building from the site, because the site will tend to obstruct us as we are modeling our fascia. Okay, so go ahead and select the roof, and on the view panel here we'll click on selection box. What the selection box does is that it isolates any part of the building that was selected or any part of the model that was selected. Okay, now this gives us a better view of our building as we are drawing or as we are placing our fascia. Okay, so now we'll just hide the section box. We can always bring it back later when we are done with the modeling. Okay, now we'll go to the roof drop down on the architecture tab and select roof fascia. All right, so now given the thickness of the roof, the upper edge and the lower edge are very close to each other. Now people tend to make the mistake of applying the fascia on two inconsistent edges. Now for the sake of this exercise, we'll be using the upper edge. Okay, if you use the lower edge, it's fine, it's not wrong, but you must stick with one edge if you are going to use a very thin roof like this. Okay, so as I've selected here, we'll select the upper edge as well, and we'll do that throughout the whole building. The implication of not doing this, we'll see it here. If I select the lower edge here, you can see that the joinery is messy. Okay, and you don't want to start over elaborating, so it's better you deselect this and come here, and it has created a neater joint. Okay, so we just do this throughout the whole building. Oops. All the way to the back as well. Right. So now don't forget, the roof fascia is a continuous modeled element, just like the wall sweep. So it's one that can be placed and removed using the add or remove segments. Okay, so what this tool does is, if you click on the edge that is selected to apply the fascia, it would remove the fascia on that particular part of the roof. Okay, it will remove the segment of the fascia on that particular part of the roof. So you can use this tool to apply and reapply. Okay, so for this tool here beside it called modify metering, helps to define the shape of the end detail of the fascia. Now you can see that the end detail of our fascia here is vertical. That is why the vertical here is grayed out. Okay, because it's the one in use. So if you select, let's say, horizontal, and we click on that edge, it makes our roof fascia detail here horizontal. Now we select perpendicular and click that end detail, you can see it has made it perpendicular. So this defines the shape of fascia that you're going to use for your building, but for this exercise we'll be using the vertical. Okay, so now you can see that here there's a little bit of a problem. This is because I joined two roofs here, this and this. Okay, so Revit still recognizes this roof edge as a holistic edge, and it applied a fascia all the way throughout this roof edge. Okay, and joined it with this particular fascia. Now I want this fascia to end here, and I want this other fascia here to continue and hit this other fascia. So what I'm going to do is click on the roof fascia. Okay, zoom into this place and you see a point called drag end segment. We'll just click on this point and drag it all the way to this end point. Okay, all right, so now we'll just use the add remove segment and apply the remaining fascia here. Very neat. Okay, Now in the case where you want to increase or you want to adjust the size of your fascia, this is a very simple step that I'm just going to show you quickly. Okay, so now selecting our fascia and clicking the edit type button on the properties palette, under profile we're going to see a field, and this field hosts the profile of the fascia we're doing. Now what is this profile? The profile is the shape that the fascia extrusion follows. Okay, so if we just click on this drop down, we're going to see a lot of profiles. Okay, so now most of these profiles you see here are default Revit profiles. What happens when you want to use a profile with a specific size? It comes down to you creating a new one. Now I'm going to show you how to do this very simply. Okay, we're going to just leave here. Okay, and on the project browser, I'm going to click on families. I'm going to expand this. We'll look for profiles. This is profiles. I'm going to expand profiles as well. Now under profiles, there are a lot of profiles here, but the profile we're looking for is fascia, which is this. We're just going to open this. Okay, so here we have all the available roof fascias for this project. Okay, now we can edit any of them and duplicate it. Okay, so we'll just right click this and click on type properties. Good. So now this will give us the opportunity to duplicate this particular type of profile. Okay, so we'll just click on duplicate. Let's say we want to use 20 by, let's say 300. So we'll just adjust the thickness to 20 and the height to 300. Okay, so that is for the profile. Now mind you, this is just a profile. It doesn't mean that a new fascia has been created. So just take cognizance of the fact that we have just created a type of profile. Okay, so we'll just close this, close the profile, close the family. Then we'll select the roof fascia and click the edit type button. Okay, now under this profile you can now look for what we just previously created. Okay, which is the 20 by 300 mm fascia profile. We'll click on this. You can always change the material here. Just look for plastic. Okay, then click apply. All right, now you are seeing that the size of the fascia has been adjusted. Okay, so this is perfect. All right, so that is all for the fascia. Now we'll just move into the soffit. Okay, now we'll go to the south elevation, or one of the elevation views showing the levels of the model. Okay, so just like to take a little note of the distance from the roof level to the base of the fascia. Okay, so now this is maybe due to the placement of the fascia, it has given us kind of odd number here. Now we just need to take note of this number. So we'll just go into the view of this level. All right, so now on this view we'll just hide our roof. I want to hide it by elements, because if you hide it by category, the fascia also will be hidden. Okay, so we need the fascia. We want to hide it by elements. So we'll just go ahead and come over here to the roof drop down and select roof soffit. Now roof soffit is just like an extrusion. Okay, so we are just going to select a draw tool we are going to use, and from the inner endpoint we'll draw our boundaries all the way to the other side. Can use the align tool to just make sure. Okay, you can select draw tool and also draw it here as well. You can draw these ones and mirror it, but it doesn't really matter whether you mirror it or you draw it twice. It doesn't really matter. It is not like the roof. You know, the roof, you cannot draw two particular boundaries in the same edit mode. There will be an error. Okay, so now given that this is a flat soffit we plan on using for these two areas of the roof, or will I say these three areas here also. If you go to the 3D, these three areas of the roof, it's going to be a flat soffit, so we don't need to define the slopes of our soffits. Okay, so going back to that level, we'll just click on finish. But before we click on finish, now going to the properties palette here, the height offset from the level to the base of the fascia was about 300 mm. Okay, so we're just going to impute minus 300. It was not particularly 300 we saw, but let's just put 300. We can always still adjust it manually. Okay, so you click apply, we'll now finish. Now if you go to the south elevation, we can see the position of the soffit. Okay, as I said, you can adjust this manually by just using the move tool, selecting the move tool and placing it properly to flush with the base of the fascia. Okay, let's see this part. Very nice, all good. So now the next step is to create our inclined soffits. Okay, so for this part of the roof, we are going to use inclined soffits. Okay, not straight soffits like this anymore. So this is also very simple. The only difference is that we are going to use defined slopes for these ones. Okay, so we'll just go back to the level that we created the first soffit and go to our soffit. Then using the draw tool, we'll make our sketch.
Now remember, the sketch for the previous soffit that we created started from this point and covered this area all the way down. So the sketch for this one will start from this point all the way to the end of this wall here.
Now using our line tool, just get the midpoint of this line, and using our trim tool, just trim it. And what we're doing is just creating the sketch of one half of the soffit. Okay, it's not like this one that we are going to draw the soffit all the way through, because there's going to be defined slopes here and there's also going to be defined slope here. Now the reason I'm drawing it one after the other is because unlike the roof, you cannot define two slopes. Okay, you cannot define slope of two boundary lines. Okay, because if you try to do this, there'll be an error. Okay, so that is out of the picture. Okay, so we just define the slope for one boundary, and this boundary will just impute the angle of the roof. Okay, so it will go in line with the roof. Okay, so an easy way of getting this is going to the south elevation, using the angular dimension, can just get the angle. Okay, so this is 26 degrees. So going back to that view, we select this boundary and impute 26 degrees. Okay, if we go to our north elevation, you can see it's in line, but it's not in the right position. Now, as I said, you can always do this manually by using the move tool. From this endpoint, we place it on the endpoint or in the right position. Okay, so that is for one half of the soffit, the inclined soffit. You can always use our mirror tool and mirror it from this midpoint here. Okay, so now going to our 3D, you can see it is well placed. Okay, so we're just going to do the same for the rest of our building. We can do the soffit for the smaller roof here first before we get to this one. All right, so going back to the roof level, select roof soffit. Okay, and using the rectangle tool again, from this point we'll draw it all the way to this point. Don't forget, I've already drawn the soffit for here, so we're just going to stop here and we'll get the midpoint from here. Okay, the midpoint of this line. Okay, you can see that it's highlighted by blue, so we'll just get the midpoint of this line. So using the trim tool or TR on your keyboard, we'll just shaping the sketch to what we want. Okay, so now we'll select this end boundary as well and define the slope. When we do this, we'll change it to 26 and finish. So we're going to the south elevation you can see it's parallel with the line of this roof fascia here, but it's not in the right position. So we'll just use the move tool and place it. Okay, also use the mirror tool to mirror it and make sure that the other part has its soffit as well. So you can see that this is properly modeled. Okay, so now for this side, we'll just go ahead and go to the roof level and select this tool and use the mirror tool and find the midpoint, then draw our mirror. Okay, so now remember that the soffit here doesn't go all the way. We're going to try and stop our soffit around this part of the roof. Okay, so we'll edit our boundary on the 3D view here. We use align tool. Okay, by pressing tab, we'll just get the line, this line, and click it and use it to align with the end of this sketch. Okay, so when we confirm, we'll go to the elevation and place it manually. All right, so it's all properly placed now. So now, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be modeling these end details here. All right, this corner end details, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to be showing you how to do it for just the front of this video. Okay, so the proper way of doing this is by using fascia. Okay, so we'll just select our fascia and create similar. Okay, not the same fascia. Okay, so we'll just pick the bottom of this soffit. Okay, pick the bottom of the soffit you have created. Okay, you can click on restart fascia. So now what this tool does is that it finishes the editing of our sweep. Okay, so you can simply restart a new fascia sweep. So we'll just apply them, restart fascia, then apply them. Now this makes these fascias not to be the same fascia. Okay, so as you can see, these smaller units of fascia are alone standing. They are not part of this large continuous model here. So I just did this so that I'll just show you how to use that restart fascia. Okay, so now if you go to elevation and click on the fascia we just created and flip it, you can see that it has created that shape. Then from here, we'll just drag this endpoint to enter inside the fascia a little bit more. Okay, then we'll just use our join tool here and join it. Simple. Okay, it's very simple. So we'll do the same here. We'll repeat the same process for this one. Flip it, drag it a little inside, then use the join tool and join it. Simple. I'll just repeat it lastly for this one. Click it, flip it, and drag, then join. Simple. That's it. Okay, so going back to our 3D view, you can see it's a very simple step. Very simple. Okay, so now we still have some openings here. So the easiest way to close this is also by using fascia. Okay, so we'll just create a similar instance. Pick the end of the inclined soffit, not this one again, because if you use this one, you can see that the peak line goes all the way to the back, and we don't want our fascia to reach that point. Okay, we just want it to stop here where this one stops. Okay, so we'll just select this. Now on selecting this, you can see that it has kind of pushed the fascia, or the fascia is pushing through the soffit. Okay, you can just simply correct this by using our align tool. Okay, and selecting the surface that we want it to flush with. All right, then aligning it. You can see now. Then you can finally use the join tool and join it to make it look proper and neat. Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll just repeat the same process for this one too. Okay, I use the align tool, select our surface and align it, use our join tool and join. Perfect. Okay, so lastly we just do this one. Select our fascia, create similar, and pick points or pick edges. Sorry, use the align tool and align the surfaces, and use the join tool and join our geometries. Perfect. All right, so there we have it. It's properly enclosed now and modeled. Okay, this is a very simple method of doing that corner end detail modeling. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it or learned from it, please give us a like, and if you are new here, do well to subscribe. We post tutorial videos like this every week and very interesting architectural content as well. Okay, and also don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss any of our weekly videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.
Baby, you give me